lovely to have you all today. So welcome everyone again to today's webinar, how to improve communication during remote working. I'm pleased to introduce our speaker, Dr. Shirley Thompson, a professional coach, and she leads organizations going through transformation, and she's passionate about supporting busy achievers work on what's meaningful to them and to help organizations improve collaborative working. Her background is formerly engineering, software, hardware, project management, and quite recently she earned her PhD in coaching. She's also earned the ACCA credential and ICF credential in coaching, and there's no safe hands to be in than to be in Dr. Shirley's hands in coaching. A distinguished Toastmaster, and we look forward to hearing her nuggets on how to engage in remote working. Before I hand over the stage to Shirley, we do love to hear from you during the presentation. If you have a question for our speaker, please feel free to send it through the chat box. I'll be gathering them. We'll have the opportunity as well to go into breakout groups, do engage in the breakout groups. And finally, do connect with Dr. Shirley Thompson via LinkedIn and via Twitter. She would always look forward to answering your questions. So at the end of this session as well, we'll be sending the videos out to everyone who's joined. Thank you all for joining again, and I'll hand over to Dr. Shirley Thompson.
Oh, thank you very much, William. That's very, very kind of you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, and I hope everyone else can hear you.
Okay. So I don't know whether you've got the recording on, but that introduction was lovely, perfect. And so, yeah, it'd be really nice to have it recorded. It's my pleasure to lead what I hope will be a very participative session today. And I'd like to create a conversation between everyone, certainly between me and you on the call, as much as that's ever possible on an online Zoom meeting. In having a conversation, I'm modeling the ideas that I'm presenting today. So I'm very much passionate about helping everyone have better communications at work. So let me see if I can show the agenda here. You'll see from the agenda that, yes, there's a little bit of presentation from me, but most of the session, we will be in breakouts or trying to get to the Q&A on time, 10 minutes before the end. So interaction, that's what we're trying to do. And the focus for the team communication ideas are two things, setting ground rules in the team for communication. And then the second idea is to ensure that everyone feels heard in the team or in any communication. So hopefully at the end of the breakouts, you will have assimilated what we're trying to get across and given you some practice on some of the communication skills that you need. Okay, so very much a participative session. And I'm trying to make my intentions as clear as possible. And if we were face to face, you and I'd be trying to negotiate on our intentions to make sure that we had shared intention and agreement for our conversation. But I hope you certainly come with an intention to participate today. We definitely would like to hear about your experiences and opinions about what makes team communication effective. So at some point in the conversation or after the conversation, you're going to reflect whether it was effective. Unless it's purely social or otherwise intended just to kill time, there must have been some purpose to the conversation. So after you've got your intentions clear up front, you're going to have the conversation. And then sometime after, you may be thinking, well, what was that conversation for? So I'm hoping in the session today that you might make a decision to act differently as a result of the session. And I'll certainly be trying to ask you that question to see whether you have got an intention to change. So, in other words, I'll ask you, what might you do differently as a result of this session? Okay, so to get your intention, so I've made my intentions. So now I'd like to ask participants about your intentions. So it'd be great if you could write in the chat box, please, the sorts of new challenges you're experiencing with team communication now that we're got enforced remote working. Some people may be used to remote working and it's less of a hassle for them, but for people that have not been remote working before, this is quite a new challenge. And I'd particularly like to know what the team communication challenges are. So if you could have a go at writing in the chat box, that would be great. And I encourage everyone to write one thing at least. So write in the chat box, so we've got it for later. Here's some ideas that we aired in a previous session, which really were personal things. So things like distractions, working at home brings lots of potential distractions, apart from the fact that you probably have to set up a new routine. Your home provides a work environment. So, broadband, Wi-Fi, your computer, the workspace that you've got available, if you're competing with everyone else in the family, all these things might not be as good as you have with work equipment. And then there's a lack of social connection with the people that you work with. So we're all saying, well, there's lack of social connection with all our friends, but actually, work connection with work colleagues can be really important. And then all this online communication is fraught with that lack of connection. And also, you can't always get people's feelings by looking at them on Zoom. It does take quite a bit of experience to do that. So these are all personal challenges. So the real question is, how much allowance do you give for people in your team that are clearly experiencing all these challenges personally, apart from the anxiety of having to care for people and the overwhelm of homeschooling and the worry about the health issues as well, and doing having to shop in strange ways. Lots of things are different, so which is making people feel really uncomfortable. So given that people have got all these personal challenges, what do we have to do in the team? What allowances do we have to make? How do we take care of the people in our team? And do we have to have concern for it at all? So it's the team issues that we're really trying to get to. If someone doesn't listen very well in a meeting, or you can't get them to unmute their phone or unmute their audio because they've got lots of background noise, or their broadband isn't very good. What do we actually do in the team? So lots of people are writing to me privately. It would be great if you wrote it to everyone. So, so I've got here, the fact that someone is logged on doesn't mean the person is present and with you. Absolutely, got that. Big picture awareness, I'm not sure I understand that, Yusuf. So if you could just expand on that a little bit, that would be good. How does remote working affect the big picture? Maybe there's a general lack of communication downwards to everybody, or the broader communication is what you're getting at. So again, I've got communication while working from home. Well, we need to dig away at that a little bit. What does that mean? What's the problem in the team as a result of communication from home? Yeah, isolation, I like that one. This is the lack of social connection. So maybe people aren't feeling part of the team. So what does the team leader need to do to make people feel less isolated? So if that's the challenge, isn't it? The challenge is that people are feeling isolated, so you can't actually. So you want to encourage them more, because if they feel isolated, they might withdraw even more. They might engage less, in other words, in what's going on. And the opposite end of the scale, I've got here constant touching base with the team. So that maybe there's that's less of a challenge, but it's more work, or maybe it's a challenge because actually I don't really want to keep touching base with people, but I'm having to do it because that's an extra thing I have to do now. Again, and then there's losing focus. Again, that could do with a little bit more expansion, but maybe it's about the team losing focus rather than individuals losing focus. Okay, so feel free to keep adding things, but I hope that's given everyone some idea of the challenge, the team challenges, because we're going to try and address those today. Right, so I'm going to move present briefly my soft skill model now which works for conversations. And this model encourages you to air intentions. That's one of its primary aspects. And apart from that, it demands that you give awareness to 3 points of focus for your intention. And the model basically is separated into these 3 areas. So you've got to give attention to yourself, be more aware of your thoughts and senses, so feelings or emotions. So whatever's going on in your brain, you need to be thinking about other people. And you only really find out about other people through listening very carefully and questioning. And then my third point of focus, which might sound a bit strange, but it's intentions for relationships. And I think that these intentions change or can change moment to moment, but actually there's a general sense of what sort of relationship we want with someone. So if you consider all the people in your team, are you more supportive to some people, more collaborative to some people, less friendly with other people? What is actually going, what are the intentions you've got? And maybe you've not thought about that before, but I'm going to try and raise your awareness, because I think these intentions for relationship are what drive our interpersonal behavior. So I think it's really important. And I'm going to briefly show my model. This is after my academic research. This came from that. I studied the soft skills literature in academic work, and it is quite messy. But when I came up with this model from the research that I did, it seems to fit with the literature. So I'm very comfortable with this model because it aligns with other models that I've seen, but somehow makes easier sense of it all. So to me, it's I'm feeling quite comfortable with it. So the best way to understand this model is if you imagine you're in a helicopter standing over, hovering over a person standing, and then the center ring represents the mind, so a person's mind, so thoughts and feelings, anything to do with the senses are coming through here. The mauve area represents the body, so we use our whole body in communication, whether it's eyes, ears, arms and legs. We move constantly when we're communicating. And then the outer layer is kind of the energy field around a body, which I admit I can't explain very well. But I know something exists because we all make friends, or we all know if we're going to make friends with someone, we want to be friends with someone within a very short space of time of meeting them. You know, some people say we make that decision in less than a second. So there's something there. And what I observed with my participants in my research when they were given some soft skills practice was that it was their intentions that changed at work. So gave them some practice, they went back to work, and they changed the way that they interacted with other people. And it seemed like their intentions were different as a result of their practice. So that's why it's like that. So just reinforcing the ideas then. So the first one point of attention is on self. So that green area in the middle is anything to do with ourselves, obviously affected by our personal characteristics and possibly the environmental situation that we're in. The mauve layer is all the interpersonal skills. So these are communication and relationship building skills. And just want you to reinforce the fact that there's a relationship underneath any conversation, whether it's just a friendly relationship, there's some respect of some sort to maintain a conversation. Obviously, the better the relationship, the higher the quality, the deeper the content of the conversation can be. And we all know this stuff, you know, we do this with our personal relationships, not just our work relationships. And the outer layer, I've listed some intentions that you might recognize as roles. So like coach or collaborator, director, supporter, but they're not really roles. And I would like to encourage people not to think about roles, because roles do get very confusing. They're not very well defined, and trying to get us to understand intentions more, which are a little bit more dynamic. And also intentions, you can see both ends of an intention very clearly if you start to talk about them. But there are things in the literature like motivating others or resolving conflict. So there's definitely intention involved in any soft skill. And the only way you achieve any of these intentions is actually let them drive how you communicate and how you manage yourself. So that's the model. Although I've said intentions for relationships might change moment to moment, I honestly think they do. I think there can be an overall relationship as well. So my participants noticed they were much more supportive in general at work after having their practice. So they became much better listeners and questioners of other people. But also they were very conscious of situations at times where they wanted a little bit more from people. So they weren't just giving support, they were actually demanding support. So they were starting to share intentions, which means that you can work with someone a little bit better because you're collaborating. And whenever you collaborate, you share intention. And then in some cases, they got to delegate work and then they could sustain a coaching relationship. But that didn't happen very often. So just to give you some ideas about different relationships you might have in your leadership positions. Okay, well, we're going to move to the first breakout now. And we're going to ask you what ground rules or agreements you set for good team communication right now. So having heard my idea that awareness of self, of others and of relationships is really important alongside listening well, reflecting well and questioning well, I'm wondering what ground rules you might have set already for your teams, because you're probably aware of the challenges of communications. And this breakout is an opportunity for you to forward, discuss what you might have done already, or what you might do as a result of seeing the soft skills model, and just having a little bit more attention to some of these things. So I'm going to put you in the hands of some great facilitators in a minute, but just to give you some ideas, you know, for example, do you demand that the video goes on in your online meetings? Do you allow people to stand up and move around? Or do you periodically encourage that to check up on everyone's attentions? Many of us are on Zoom calls constantly at the moment, so keeping attention is quite difficult. Any other ways you've got of checking full attention? Or, you know, do you allow people to listen to emails and look at emails while they're also in their Zoom call? Is there a mechanism to get people to speak, and does everyone get equal airtime? Or what's the quality of the facilitation skills overall right now? So just some ideas, but I'm going to put you in the hands of some facilitators, and they're going to use a Google Jamboard. So I'm going to hand over to William to take us into breakout.
Hi, I've assigned everyone into a breakout room, and I am, let me see, almost there. Let me see, open all rooms, create rooms, broadcast. Okay, so I've got 1 to assign to breakout room 3. Okay. All right, I'm going to open the rooms now for everyone to go in. And if you're not in a room, please let me know. Yeah.
We could probably go with less than 10 minutes if there are less people than we expected. It's up to you. Got a little interlude now before our second breakout, just to set this up. So first of all, I want to highlight that relationships are built over time. So airing intentions is a practice I'm encouraging, because quite often intentions are subconscious. So I'm looking to encourage people to air their intentions, make them conscious, and then you can start sharing intention, which is what ground rules in a team are about. You know, you have to air some of these issues that you're all talking about in order to understand what might work if you all pull together. And we know how to do this, all right? So if in our with our friends, we know our intentions, and we know the other person's intentions quite often. So we know how to do it. And just to reinforce it with my model, you know, if you show 2 of these models each representing a person, you can realize that people have different intentions, and they come into a meeting, you know, somehow you have to have a meeting of minds. Okay, so we're going to focus now onto the setting up the second breakout, and the intention we're focusing on here is the intention to be with a speaker. All right, so to really, really listen to the person. And the idea behind that is that intention will drive how we communicate with people and our self-management. So if you look in the middle layer, what we're trying to do with our being with, our authentic listening, is to create the feeling in the speaker that they're being heard. So we probably have positive regard for them, we probably respect them, we're probably reflecting back well, we've probably got some kind of connection with them, and we are noticing as much as we can notice about this person. We're intending to do that, intending to give our attention. And if you look in this kind of central area, what we're doing to manage ourselves, we are making ourselves ready for that focused attention, and we are open and curious about what the speaker's got to say. Okay, so breakout 2 is about practicing this, all right? So ensuring that others are feeling heard by giving attention. So what we'd like to do is to invite 2 to 3 people to each share one of the challenges from the welcome chat. That person speaks on the challenge for 1 minute. Maybe you'll run over a little bit, but Try and target for 1 minute so that other people really listen while you're speaking about that challenge. And then one person will be invited by the facilitator to make an observation, in other words, reflect back to the speaker and ask one question about what they said. So the speaker can write down the observation or question if they want to write it down, but basically we just want them to notice. And then they're going to tell the facilitator how well they feel heard and why. They might score them out of 10, score the listener out of 10, but basically they need to explain what made them feel heard and what made them feel less heard, perhaps. And then we're going to repeat for at least once more, but if we can do it twice more in the time, that would be great. But we probably can only allow 10 minutes for this breakout, William, do you think?
Yes, 10 minutes.
Okay. So are you okay to pull us back into the breakouts?
Yeah, I've done that.
So I think I'm back. So our intention wasn't to summarize anything from that breakout sessions. What we wanted you to consider and reflect on was how well you felt heard, how challenging it was to speak for 1 to 2 minutes. Are you used to doing that, being uninterrupted time to speak, being given that amount of time, and how hard did you find it to concentrate and give that focused attention? In my view, these skills they take a lifetime to learn, and not easy, and we can all get better. But the overall message is what's been useful today. You know, will you change anything in your own behavior, or what you might experiment with your team in terms of ground rules to get everyone into a more cooperative, agreeing kind of agreed way of working? And is there anything else you need? So I'd be up for opening up all the microphones, William, and just letting people ask questions if they'd like to, but I'm handing back to you at this point as facilitator.
Thank you, Shirley, and thank you, everyone. Shirley has opened the floor, and we've opened the chat rooms as well. If you've got any questions on the soft skills, but I think they are hard skills to learn because it takes time to build them. And if you've got any questions you want to ask Shirley based on the model she shared, based on the facilitation, feel free to unmute your mic, and we have the opportunity for 2 or 3 questions. And then if you've got any other questions, I will take your details and Shirley will send you a reply, or she'll send a reply that everyone can also assess the question you asked. So any questions?
Maybe we should ask them a question first. Will anyone do anything different? You know, what is there anything that anyone might try as a result of today's session?
Yeah, for me, what I will say is it's to listen more. Listen is so important. I think we sometimes, because of our heavy workload, sometimes you'll be in a team meeting while someone is speaking and you're trying to see if you can get some work done, and you can miss vital information where, you know, that you may need that information to carry out to make that person's life or work easier. So I would say listening is what I'm taking away from today.
Oh, well done, Isaac. Thank you. That's great. Yeah, I agree. We can all listen better. Even the best coach in the world can always listen more.
Hi, Shirley.
You, Emma.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I think in a meeting, it's very important to get that feedback from people to know that they're actually actively engaging with you.
Yeah.
And that is by simple things like just acknowledging what's being said. Like, yes, I'm with you, because you may not have the opportunity to read body language or how people are responding to you. So the only way in a virtual meeting, especially when there is no video showing, is either people are responding with audio or via the chat box by saying, yes, I agree with you, or yes, that's a good point. But just that sort of feedback to show that you are engaging with the person who is speaking at that point in time. If not so, the person doesn't know whether people are listening, will feel so aloof, will feel like, you know, it doesn't feel supported, doesn't feel encouraged. But if you say something and someone nods the head, I mean, you cannot see if I'm nodding my head right now because I'm not on video. But if I say, yes, I'm with you, I get what you mean. Yeah, I agree with you. Or, you know, something like that, just to show that. So there should be a way of always encouraging people to show that they're actively engaging with what the person is saying.
Yeah, that's great. I think we're all getting better at using, on our social chat, we're getting better at that kind of informal conversation to show those things. So yeah, I totally agree with you. Great, thank you.
And what I also learned was using a very friendly background, because someone said in their company, everyone has been given a background to use for their videos. And if you don't use that videos, you can't come to the sessions with video. So one thing I've learned today is make sure your background is friendly and everyone feels welcomed.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
a very important point, Kwame. I like that. I like that.
Yeah, try different ones and see which one is more appealing. You know, some people might like one background and other people might like a different background. So you can be more fun with some people and more formal with others. But yeah.
Can I just add something, please?
Go
of course.
Yeah, what I wanted to add to this section, what I've learned from this session would be to make everybody feel part of the meeting, not ignoring other people. But when someone feels ignored, we mentioned opening the videos. You know, the person wouldn't feel like doing that. All they want to do just as Carlos, I don't know if it's Carlos or someone mentioned in the break room, that just put the video, just listening and not put the video.
Yeah.
So because I don't feel part of the team, what I'm going to do, I just want to put it on and just do what I have to do. And you know, because you are not, you don't feel part of it. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's why the ground rules are so important. You know, you need to all agree the team expectations, and you all need to be comfortable with what you're having to do. I think in our breakout we talked a lot about you know, there's too many Zoom meetings, and actually a lot of the conversations might be ineffective. So, you know, just thinking what is an effective conversation and what conversations you actually need on Zoom is quite important as well. If you get people to agree one conversation is really important and you all have to be online for that one, and then there's other things they can just listen in on, I think that would be fine. But I think we just have to be more aware of what effective conversation is and what ineffective conversation is. You know, what's really important and what's not, and there are times when people feeling part of the team is really, really important.
And okay, go for it. Easy.
Oh, okay, thank you, William. So what I learned from this is that I feel like calling people names improves collaboration, because like normally when I join a meeting I just keep quiet, but when Carlos called my name, I had to contribute. And then I had to like listen like properly because I know that he's going to call my name again. So.
Oh, well done, Carlos. Now you know. Now you know why we do participative sessions, because this is how we engage people. Really important to learn to do that with your team. Yeah,
that's true.
And let's say my last comment will be trying to type on your keyboard or type on your phone thinking you're hiding. it comes across and people can see it whilst you are doing it. So
yeah, warning everyone.
I think what I also like to add is we need to be empathic enough, because not everyone is abreast with the technology like you in the meeting. So I think when hosting a meeting, you need to understand that not everyone can use Zoom like probably you would have used it. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree that's a problem. You can phone in. So again, it comes down to what's expected within the team, what are the ground rules, what's the minimum participation level, given that everyone's having to do remote working, what can they do? You know, if it's not Zoom, maybe it has to be something else. Maybe it's a WhatsApp chat, who knows? But, you know, there must be some way for people to work as a team. Otherwise, they're not a team.
Yeah,
That's true. That's
Yep.
true.
Yep.
Yeah.
Interestingly, some research just came out. I was reading something just a few days ago. I'm not too sure where I picked it from. People recently have been experiencing serious vision problems as a result of, you know, because people are working remotely now, they're spending a lot of time on the screen. So there's been something coming on that. And so I would say that people who are organizing meetings now should always ensure that probably the sessions they are cut short, and then there's a break of about 2, 3, 5 minutes for people to just leave the screen for just a while, because this is going to become a very serious issue. It's being picked up now by ophthalmologists. People are beginning to see a lot more of eye specialists now because they're getting visions blurred right now.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, this is very true, because in my organization, for instance, we have cap our meeting times to maybe 45 minutes. Then we break that. If need be that we have to continue, then we'll add more time to it. But straight sitting should be up to 45 minutes.
Yeah.
I should contribute. I came late, sorry about that, guys, but I haven't heard earlier conversation. I think one of the other reasons is that because of lack of sleep, we have lost all the schedules these days, you know, due to COVID-19. And I think that you know, decreases your vision. Sometimes when you didn't have enough sleep, you don't see it very well. Next day, when you had a good maybe 8-10 hours sleep, you can see better. So that's always the case.
Yeah, I'm not sure as a team leader, I've got permission to tell people what sleep they've got to get. But maybe that is something you can talk about in the team, you know, get someone to come in to talk about sleep and good sleep. That would be useful. That's caring for the well-being of your team, for sure.
Especially if you have young kids, and nowadays because of technology, they stay up till late, who knows, 12, 1, 2, sometimes 3 o'clock, and you're not going to sleep as well, so, you know.
Okay.
Rules.
Yeah, I want freedom.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you all. And as Zafar has talked about time, we almost 6 minutes over our time. So wow. Zafar, thank you so much for reminding us about time.
But not only that, if it wasn't 6 minutes late, I may not have been able to join the meeting as well. So I'm glad I did. So all thanks for that.
Thank you. And thank you, Dr. Shirley Thompson, for this soft skills sessions. They are things that I value quite a lot, because over time, I am able to learn them as you share on them. And also thank you to everyone who's also been on this session. We will have it, we'll have the recordings available, sent in an email, and it will be circulated, let's say within the next 48 hours.
Right, that's wonderful. Thank you, Kwame.
We've got future sessions, and I would also encourage you to join us on our Agile courses at Lean Icon Technology. Overall, a real pleasure to host everyone. And we would have a last picture, and we'll close off the session. The picture will be shown on LinkedIn. So if you think your background would not be the best, please feel free not to join. So it's the last quick photo shoot. I know UM will join us. Is UM joining, or he's not got a good background?
Well, I'm joining. My background is a bit, it's just straightforward. It's not.
Thank you, UM. All right. Let's all say a quick high five. Hellos. Yeah, hi.
Can't see my hi, but yeah, hi.
Yeah, I've taken the pictures, and thank you all. It will
Thank
also
you.
be shared in the emails you receive, and see you on the next webinar. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much, Kwame.
Thank you
very
so
much,
much.
Shirley. Thank you,
Bye.
everybody.
Thank you, William.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.